of the whirring lamp-hung dusk, my mother calls. From the lank pastures of my sleep I turn and climb, from the leathery dark where bats work, from the coasting high, all winter, all weather, Christmas hills of my sleep. And there's my grandfather chewing his goatee, prancing about like a horse. And the drone and whir from the field where the thresher mourns and showers on the morning stillness, a bright fistful of whistles.
The water monkey's late, the straw monkey's late, the bundle stiffs are late.
And my grandfather dances in the yellowy kerosene smell of the morning lamps when my mother brightens a dish on her apron and feeds the stove, its iron round, crackling mouth and throat full of bristling flame, gold in the 5 o'clock morning night. Dances and raves.
A worker has broken his wrist.
The machine is whistling its vast-tongued rage, and the jackbooted weathers of autumn hiss and sing in the north.
The rains are coming!
And the end of the world is coming. My grandfather dances. I'm slowly fed into my DVDs while the still dark day assumes the structure of my 9-year world. And the whistle hoots.
You'll be the straw monkey. What can you do it for?
My grandfather prances about while I assemble my parts and my mother fusses. Is the job too hard?
Woman! The chiseler's as tall as a weed. Not to be spiked pitching, a whistle punk only. Praise of a job, and he'll be sitting on his bones the day long in the shade.
My mother pets me and cooks bacon and eggs and the bitter denatured coffee of man's estate, while my grandfather stamps and grumbles, and my brothers pour from sleep into the kitchen, questioning, owl-eyed and envious. Kiss, a hug, piece of pie in my pocket for love and luck. Then, in the jingle of trace chains and the martingale's chatter, the squeak of stays and their straps, I drove the big roan team through the gray of the morning chill. My mother waving, bye! The kids staring, still sleepy. Myself, proud and scared. The echo of sleep still in my veins. The reins I'd looped around my hips so that the fast-stepping team half pulled me, stiff-legged, tacking about like a boat in their dusty wake. Ahead, my grandfather's buggy bounced down the coulee hill, up the opposite slope, toward the thresher and its whistling brass commandments, the barbed tongue of golden barley, and the tents of biblical wheat. Frontiers of sweat, legendary field of manhood. Behind me, my mother called. Something I couldn't hear. The kids stood solemn, still in the weather of childhood, waved, throwing kisses. I waved my hand in return. So long. So long! So long! Blind. Out of the labyrinthine sleep of childhood, I entered the brilliant, alien arena, blind in the harsh light. Entered too soon, too young, bobbing along in the lines, dragged by a team of drones. Those names should have been poverty and pride. I entered the world of men at the age of 9. This was no ritual visit, no summer foray, no scouting party or picnic in the big horn country with the ridgepole pines singing my honor. The streams full of fish and fancy, the light fall valorious, God creatures taller than tails to teach me camp craft. Put a croup in the nightmare, camp my 6-gun. Oh, I know that 10-sleep camp with a ticking day-shard rifle dozes by the bank of sun. The half-real shooting gallery of the dream range where deer and skin lie on an endless belt. Bear pop up, pop down in front of the painted scene of lake and mountain, where prizes are always given. Aloft on the shaking deck, half blind and deafened in the roaring dust, on the heaving back of the thresher, my neck blistered by sun and flying chaff, my clothes shot full of thistles and beards, a gospel itch. Like a small St. Stephen, I turned the wheel of the blower, loading the straw rack. A whistle snapped at my heels. In a keening blizzard of barley beards, baker's lice, and sandburrs, in a red rust where the wheat rust roared up in a billowing cloud from the knife-flashing feeder, I turned the wheel. Far from Tom Swift, farther from Troop 9, the cabin they built on the river. The rites of passage toward a stranger's country. The secret language, foreign as a beard. I turned in machine-made circles, first from the screaming red weather where the straw stack grew and the rattling thresher mourned, then to the rocketing engine where the flywheel flashed and labored, the drive belt waxed and waned, its splices clapping at its cross, ebbing and flowing, slap or top as the spikers dropped their bivouac wheat into the feeder's revolving throat. Feathered in steam like a great tormented beast, the engine dreamed and laughed, roared and complained. The petcocks dripped and sizzled, and under its fiery guts, the lactite formed from the handle of ruby slaughter. A vein of hearts, a great metallic spike in its voice, a wild, long, thickening crackle of burning grease. There, the engineer sat on the high drivers, aloof as a god, filthy. In one gauntleted hand clutched a hunk of waste, in the other the oil can, beaked and long-necked like some exotic bird, wreathed in smoke and the clatter of loose eccentrics. And the water boy, back from the green quiet of the river, was rolling around Quirley, a high school boy, conquered in the dripping shade and tall talk and acrid sweat of the spitting circle of stiffs, whose cloud-topped bundle racks waited their turns in the heat. And the fireman, goggled, shirtless, the flashing 3-timed fork, its handle charred, stuck through the shiny metallic lip of the engine into the flaming, smoky firebox that is marked. Myself, strongly, just a report. So, dawn to dusk, dark to dark, hurried from the booming, furious broom of the thresher's back to the Antipodean panting engine, caught in the first circle. Was it hard? I don't know. It was terrifying. The whistle snapped and I ran. The thresher mourned on its glut. The Dananian rain of wheat rained down. Hard? No. Everyone wanted to help me. My father, riding the grain tanks from the field to the town elevator, starting out in the chilly dawn, home at the cold midnight, eating when time allowed, doing the work with a threshing hand and the chores of the farm to boot. Harnessing the team for me because I was too short to harness it, picking up a load when he got back from town in his jolting musical empty grain tank. He had boils that summer. His neck was ringed with ruby lights, I remember. Focused with heated bottles. My mom helped. Had cookies stuffed in my pocket. Ginger, their crumbly sweetness. And my grandfather, too, after the first week, came prancing and dancing, pulling his thin beard. Kate! Let the boy be quitting. It's hired long hours. Let him quit. My father came in the night, where I'd gone in to sleep into the open mouth of the dream, the night vibrating, the whistle biting my ears, fog of the red rust, steam, rattled concaves. Came about midnight, his last chore done, he led me into the bright kitchen. The table was already set for breakfast. Potatoes sliced, pie cross-cut, cloth fenced out the flies. Then his supper. We ate ice cream, cheese, cheese, sardines, crackers, tomatoes still left right out of the garden, cucumbers, crispy salty, cooled in the water trough, bacon, and watermelon, left over from supper. Tom, old timer, he'd say, ain't you had enough? This working won't get you nowheres. Let the job go. We got a man for you. I couldn't. No way to quit. My hand was stuck to the plow and I cried to stay. Just as that morning with sleep stuck in my eyes and my morning breakfast dead in my stomach, I cried for the day to be gone. I couldn't quit. I came out of sleep at 4 days and dreaming. I ate my food on the run. I ran into the barn where the road team knelt and dozed. I clapped the harness on them. I kicked them awake and rode the off one galloping into the field where the engine slept in its heat. The fireman grunted. He struck a match to his fork. A crackling fireball thrust to the metal heart ignited the still dark day. Sometimes after a long move to another farm, hours after the bundle teams were gone and sleeping, after we'd set the rig for the next day, I rode the off-horse home. Midnight maybe, dogs in strange farms barking behind me, the river shortcut rustling with its dark and secret life, the deep pools warm. I swam there once in the dead of night while the team nuzzled the black water. Oh man, to quit was impossible once you started. All you could do was somehow learn the ropes. No one could teach you. When you were late, the whistle snapped you into the heedless state of the daylight man. Responsibility, the hot foundries of the will. But when you load up, you squatted in a spitting circle of stiffs under the hot shade of the sky-piled bundle racks waiting their turns to the feeder. You were no man there. A man to the engine's hunger, to the lash of the whistle, but not to the tough young punks from Detroit or Chicago who drifted the tide of the harvest for the first time. Not to the old stiffs, smoke shooters, their bundles weighted with dust from calibrated candles. Not to your uncle, Shirley, who slapped you once when you swore before the ritual was known, or the language of man.
Oh, great for the dream, getting to the fearful country, so near and so magically far. What key will open?
Their alien smell, their talk, their foreign hungers, and something awful, secret, a song, lost, born on the fearful stream, a sinful valor and longed to know, to burn in that fire.
Oh, great for the dream, get to the fearful country, so near and magically far. What key will open?
My father took me as far as he could that summer. Those midnights mostly back from his long haul. But mostly Cal. Cal, one of the bundle teamsters. My son blackened the Virgil of the spitting circle. Led me from depth to depth toward the light I was too young to enter. He must have been about 30. Thin as a post, tough as wang leather, brick-topped muley face. Quiet talker. Read the Industrial Worker, though I didn't know what the paper was at the time. Last of the real logs. That too I didn't know. Couldn't. Played a harmonica. Sat after supper in the lantern smell and late to that wickering dusk, playing mumbledy peg and talked of wages and hours at the bunkhouse door. On Sunday, cleaned his gun. Colt 38, he let me shoot at a hawk. I jumped in my hand, the whole arm tingled with shot. Quiet man with the smell of road, smell of far places. Romantic, as all the stiffs were romantic to me and my cousins, sticking them on Burgess's of boyhood's country. What he tried to teach me was how to take my time. Not to be impatient. Not to shy at the fences, not to push on the reins, not to balk or pull leather. Tried to teach me when to laugh, when to be serious, when to laugh at the serious, when to be serious in my laughter, when to laugh at myself, when to be serious with myself. He wanted me to grow without growing too fast for myself. Good teacher, brother. That was the year or two of the labor troubles on the rigs. The first, or the last, maybe. I heard the talk. It was dull. Then, one day, windy, we were threshing flax at Edinburgh toward the end of the run. After quarter time, I think, the slant light falling across the blackened stubble that shut like a fan toward the headland. Strike started then. Why then, I don't know. Cal spoke for the men. My uncle cursed him. I remember that ugly sound, like some animal cry, touching me deep and cold, and I ran toward him, and the fighting started. My uncle punched him. I heard the breaking crunch of his teeth going, the blood left out of his mouth, over his shirt and shoulder. I heard their gruntings and strainings, like love at night, or men working hard together. I heard the weedy thumpings, like beating a grain sack as my uncle punched his body. I remember how the dust jumped from the calloused shirt. He fell in the blackened stubble, rose, was smashed in the face, stumbled up, fell, rose, lay in the long, harsh, slanting sun, with blood running out of his mouth onto his shoulder. Then I heard it quiet and I was crying. They had shut down the engine. The last of the bundle teams was coming in at a gallop. Crying and cursing, yelled at the crew, "Can't you jump, the son of a bitch? Cal! Cal, get up!" But he didn't get up. None of them moved. Raging at my uncle, I ran, got slapped, ran sobbing straight to the engine. I don't know what I intended. To drive it straight down the belt into the feeder like a vast iron bundle. I lashed the drive lever over, I jammed back on the throttle, the drive belt popped and jumped, the thresher roared, the beaters grabbed at the air, the knives flashed, I wrestled the clutch. Far away, I heard them calling my name, but it didn't sound like my own. The clutch stopped. Did I put it to stick? I hammered on it. Fireman came on a run, grabbed me and held me, sobbing, screaming, with my hand clenched on the whistle rope as it screamed down all of our noises, stampeding a couple of empties into the field. Long, long, hoarse blast, with a falling raise and melancholy of engines when the pressure's falling. Quiet then. My uncle was cursing the Reds, ordering the rig to start. But no one started. The men drifted away. The water monkey came in with his load, questioned. He got no answer. Cal's buddy and someone else got him up onto an empty rack bed. And they started out for home. Him lying on the flat rack bed, balancing. I picked up his hat that lay in the churned up dust, and I left my rack and team, and my uncle's threats, and I cut for home across the river quarter. Green commission. ironwood, basswood, the horny elm, cottonwood, box elder. Thick in the thorny brake, the black chokecherry, high broken ash, slick white bark of poplar. I called the king of the woods, the wind-sprung oak. I called the queen of ivy, Maharani, to his rut-bark duchies. I summoned the foxgrape, the lank woodbine, the small flowers, cold spires, the iris, spikes of the ghost flower, the woodbines. It was before the upright trees, or later. Roomless, I stood in the green rain of the leaves, waiting. Nothing. Distant echo of horns. Then, under the hush and whisper of the wood, I heard the echoes of the little war. Flocks barking in the hills. A red hawk boomed down on the darkening flats and a feathery splash of hunger. Silence and waiting. The rivery rustle of a hunting mink. Upstream in the chuckling shallows, a beaver spanked the water where it is time the dam would be where my brother, now in his diapers, would hunt the beaver's grandsons. I could not see in that green dark. I went downstream below the river crossing where I swum the midnight river on my way home from a move. I put my clothes, stinking with sweat and dusty. I thought how the dust had jumped from Cal's shirt. I put my clothes on the broken stump. I dived from the hummock where the cut bank crumbled. Under the river, the water, the silence was humming, singing, night song. In the arrest, in glaucous light, delicate snake-like, the waterweed waved and retracted. The water sang. The blood in my ears whistled. I roared up out of the river into the last of the sunlight. Then I heard the green singing of the leaves, the water mystery. The night deep and teasing terror on the lone river sang in my bones. And under its seas and eaves, I broke my weeping in that deeper grieving. The long halting, the halt and the long hurry toward the heaving, harsh, green blurring of the salt, mysterious sea. Later, climbing the dark Cooley hills in the sandy dusk, after sunset in the long northern twilight, the nighthawk circling where the ragamuffin crows steered the clouded wood. In that dead calm, in that flat light, the water darkening where the cattle stood to their knees, I heard the singing of the little clan. Comfort of crickets, thrum of frogs, sleep rustle of birds. In the dusk, the bats hustled. The hawk wheeled and whirled on the tall perch of the air. Whirled, fell down a long cliff of light sliding from day into dusk. Something squealed in the brake. The crickets were silent. The cattle lifted their blank and unregarding gaze to the hills. Then, on a long slope of air, the hawk on his stony, unwavering wing plunged outward into a shower of light. The crickets were singing. The frogs were weaving their queens in the river shallows. The hawk swooped. Silence. Singing. The formal calls around. This riddling of the river mystery I could not read. Then, climbing the high pass of my loss, I tramped up the dark coulee. The farmyard dark was dappled with yellowy ponds of light where the lanterns hung. It was quiet and empty. In the hot clutter of the kitchen, my mother was weeping. "You wouldn't eat," she said, meeting Cal. She had a womanly notion, which she didn't really believe, that all man's troubles could be ended by eating. It was a gesture she made to soothe the world. My father had driven my uncle out of the yard because Cal was our man and not to be mistreated any more than horses and dogs. He was also my father's friend. I got some supper and I took it out to the barn. In the lemony pale light at the far end, he lay in the stall. His partner sat in the straw beside him, whittling, not looking at me. I didn't ask where his gun was, but slept in an oily rag in his suitcase. I put the supper beside him as I'd done with sick dogs. He was gone, nor my love nor my partisanship could reach him. Outside the barn, my father knelt in the dust in the lantern light, fixing a worn harness. Wanting just to be around, I suppose, to try to show Callie he couldn't have deserted. He held the tubular punch with its spur-like growl and shook the bright copper rivets out of locks. "Hard lines, Tom," he said. "Hard lines, old timer." I sat in the lantern circle in the world of men and heard Cal read in his stall. An army of crickets passed in my ear. "Don't hate anybody," my father said. I went toward the house through the dark. That night, the men all left.
I've been doing some hard traveling, I thought you'd know.
Long toward morning, I heard the rattle of Fords.
I've been having some hard rambling way down the road.
It left Cal in the bloody dust that day, but they wouldn't work after that.
I've been hitting that hard gravel, hard gambling, hard rambling. I've been having some hard traveling low.
Folded arms of the workers. I hear Warren saying sometime in the future where Mr. Keats lies dreaming
I've
of the
been
universal
having
voting
some
machine.
hard traveling.
The showboat Quinn goes by, New York later. Friggin' proletariat's in love with his
Like
friggin'
a
chains.
job of working
How do you put a friggin'
so
strike on
hard
a
to
cost-plus
find.
basis? There were strikes on other rigs that day.
I've been down the highway again.
And on the second night, a few barns burned.
Chasing
After
well,
that,
I've been having
A
some
scattering of flat alky bottles were found, buried in bundles. The folded arms of the workers.
I've been hitting
I
those
see
big
Soderbergh
oceans
organizing the towboats.
back down the way.
I see him on Brooklyn Bridge as the fizzing dynamite
I've
fuse
been
drops on the
missing a
barges.
mighty good
And
job.
Max comes around the corner, up from the blazing waterfront, New York, preaching his strikes.
I've been
And my neighbors are striking in LA on Marsh Street.
Job hunting
Later.
and the moon chasing. Well, I've been having some hard traveling low.
I've been having some hard traveling, I thought you know. I've been having some hard rambling, way way down the road. I've been hitting that hard gravel, hard gambling, hard rambling. I've been having some hard traveling low. And the hawk falls. A dream-born singing troubles my still boy's sleep in the high night where Hal had gone. They came through the high passes. They crossed the dark mountains in a month of snow, finding the plain, the bitter water, the iron rivers of the black north. They came through the high passes. They crossed the dark mountains in a month of snow, finding the plain, the bitter water, the iron rivers of the black north. They came through the high passes. They crossed the dark mountains in a month of snow, finding the plain, the bitter water, the iron rivers of the black north. They came through the high passes. They crossed the dark mountains in a month of snow, finding the plain, the bitter water, the iron rivers of the black north. They came through the high mountains. They crossed the dark mountains in a month of snow, finding the plain, the bitter water, the iron rivers of the black north. Credit for the song.